Penguins, snowy birds that survive in some of the harshest environments known to man. But not all of them live in a winter wonderland. Meet Africa's only penguin. These bubbly birds are living on top of one of the busiest cities in South Africa, Cape Town, causing chaos wherever they roam. But with their fragile species under threat, their future is bleak.
Oh, buddy.
Meet the heroes who've stepped in to help.
This penguin was probably bitten around the back of the neck and shaken a little bit. You don't want to hit a blood vessel.
This dedicated team are on hand 24/7 in Africa's busiest emergency department for penguins.
We're trying absolutely everything.
They rescue the weak and desperate,
It's not looking good at this point. Hello.
rehab them with a lot of TLC
Oh, they just melt my little heart. I love these little guys.
to get them back to the wild, where they belong.
They are going to start a whole new life.
This is the story of a remarkable relationship between penguins and people. At the Penguin A&E. This beautiful and wild coastline on the southwesterly tip of South Africa is home to some of the most adorable animals on Earth, African penguins. At just 60 centimetres tall, they're one of the smallest of all the Southern Hemisphere's penguin species. They may be vertically challenged, but one thing they're definitely not lacking in is personality. But these cheeky chappies have a problem. They live right next door to 4 million Cape Town residents, making this one of the most hazardous addresses anywhere in the world for a penguin to live. The two mainland colonies of Boulders Beach and Stony Point are home to over 10,000 of these little fellas. Since the penguins arrived here at Stony Point 34 years ago, conservationists have worked tirelessly to protect these endangered little chaps. The public can now visit and view the colony from the safety of this raised walkway without disturbing their delicate environment. But there's still no end of dangers, both natural and man-made, facing these plucky penguins. Good news is, they're not alone. There's a dedicated team of rangers who have their work cut out, rescuing a never-ending stream of new casualties. And today, Stony Point Ranger Yvonne is on the lookout for injured penguins.
We do get the odd penguin come out here when the sea's rough. It's quite rocky, so they do get stuck, and that's where you get some of your leg injuries.
And it doesn't take long until the first casualties of the day start coming in.
1 injured leg and 3 arrested molters.
Marna from the hospital is here to collect the new admissions.
This one was not found in the colony. He was about a ½ kilometre on the beach. Got a leg injury and laceration. Quite an old injury, older than a week. Go, little man.
This penguin is not in a good way. Time now is critical, and Marna has an hour and a half's drive in 38-degree heat back to the A&E unit. "40 miles along the coast, nestled in the shadow of Table Mountain, is Sankob Seabird Sanctuary. Clinical vet Natasha and her committed team are on an endless mission to save penguins.
We deal with a lot of emergencies. We can have fractures walk in the door, or open wounds to dog attacks. Every penguin counts, and it is worth us doing absolutely everything in our power to save that bird.
The centre rescues more than 1,500 African penguins each year. Like a human hospital, they have an operating theatre,
Heart rate okay?
an intensive care unit,
The next 24 hours for that bird is going to be very, very important.
A rehab ward, and a nursery.
To hatch an egg and then follow it through all the way to release, nothing else can beat it.
With penguin numbers in the wild dropping by more than 90% over the last 100 years, the team know they're in the front line in the battle to save these amazing creatures.
If we're not doing everything we can, then we're going to be responsible when they're extinct.
After an hour and a half's drive, the penguin with the badly injured leg is rushed to the hospital assessment room where vet Bronwyn and handler Rhiannon are waiting.
There appears to be a wound sort of up here on his foot. Very hanging foot.
It's very hanging.
The bone's exposed.
That's not good at all. This is like the equivalent of being shot in the leg and an open wound left for 2 weeks to fester and become infected. The fact that he's even moving his legs, this is purely a fear instinct. In the wild, he wouldn't move this at all because this is very, very painful for them. You can see if you look at the skin, all of this is severely infected. So prognosis of this, actually, the leg would most likely go gangrenous and fall off in the wild, yeah. This doesn't look like the kind of wound we can fix because of all the infection and the sepsis. And actually, the most likely option for this guy and the best option would possibly be to put him to sleep.
The outlook seems pretty bleak for this poor penguin. The team will get a second vet's opinion, but it could now be a life or death decision. It's 11:30 a.m. at the Penguin A&E, and vet Bronwyn is trying to help a penguin with a very badly injured leg.
Very hanging.
It's very hanging.
The bone's exposed.
The prognosis so far is not good.
The most likely option for this guy would possibly be to put him to sleep.
Hospital director Stephen is called for a second opinion.
I don't know if there's enough there to recover to be able to
Yeah,
suture.
I think so.
You reckon?
What's he doing with his foot?
He's kind of holds it up behind him. Tuck
We
around.
want to see how much of that muscle we can get back again. So I would flush it out now. Put him on painkillers, antibiotics.
After the first bleak assessment, Stephen thinks something could be done to save this penguin.
So what we'll have to see now is if we can get some of the muscle to recover. And although there's going to be muscle missing, we'll have to see if the other muscles can adjust to help him to stand and move. But we'll only know that in a few weeks' time, probably.
For this procedure, the penguin will go under a general anaesthetic. Vet Natasha steps in to help.
So he's quite feisty. It is a good thing because they're strong, they can handle it. It just takes them a bit of a longer time to go to sleep because they're fighting off that anaesthetic.
He finally gives in and goes under. The next step will be to clean out the wound.
Happy it's in?
Yeah, it was a nice open trachea this time.
Awesome.
You can see the colour of the tissue is completely changed. It's a much lighter pink now, which is kind of the healing process. So it's looking great. I'm very happy. Feels good to me.
Finally, the team are sounding more positive.
He seems to be coping really well. So all Bronwyn's going to do now is she's going to place 2 stitches in, and all those stitches do is just hold the skin together. So we don't close it up completely because we will need to go back to this wound. If we closed it completely, the chances are the skin would heal over the top, leaving all that nasty stuff underneath.
The team at the hospital always aim to release penguins back to the wild as soon as they're confident they have a chance of survival.
When he came in, we obviously have to expect the worst. Sometimes this can turn badly quite quickly. But I'm happy, it's looking really good. So he's doing well. He is a fighter.
This little guy faces more operations to clean out that wound, so his chances of release are far from certain. For 36 full-time residents of the hospital's home pen, release is not an option. Most of them are tame and would stand little chance of fending for themselves in the wild. At the top of the home pen pecking order is Rocky, the northern rockhopper penguin. She's here after getting lost on her way to her mid-Atlantic island home. She's normally the most friendly, happy penguin around. But today, there's a problem. Rocky's molting. Northern rockhopper penguins molt once a year. This is crucial to replace old feathers and keep them waterproof. Without this, they wouldn't be able to catch fish in the ocean.
So this is our girl Rocky, and she's just in molt. The new ones are coming through underneath, so she's very swollen. She feels really, really irritable. Yeah, because you don't like looking ugly, I know. Making a little face. She's normally so cute and so sociable, and now she's been sitting here this whole time, just shedding these feathers and just looking really disgusting and miserable. And how? But she will look so beautiful.
Well, that was 3 weeks ago, but look at Rocky now. Beautiful. Isn't she gorgeous?
She is. She's molted all of her feathers. Of course, the last time we saw her, she was looking all fat and miserable, and she has these new feathers, and she also feels a lot better as well. She's quite grumpy when she's molting.
Oh, I know, I bet she is. But she looks gorgeous. Where we are just now, this is kind of like five-star hotel for penguins.
It is. I mean, they have everything that they possibly could need.
Hey, hello.
So that's Winston.
This is Winston? Ah.
And he's gorgeous. He's very good, but he's kind of a bully.
Good, hello. That's not Winston?
Yeah, he's flirting. Look at him.
Oh, he's beautiful.
I say him. We don't know if it's a girl or a boy.
We don't.
The problem is we haven't given him a name yet.
You're just my little friend. I'm going to adopt you, I am.
You want to think of some special name for this
Oh,
bird?
I think after my husband. It has to be Steve.
Oh, that's very sweet.
Steve the penguin. But they've all got their own individual personalities. That's the thing. She keeps them in order. That's Rocky's job, to keep everybody in order. And do they obey her?
Oh, no.
The full-time residents of Home Pen aren't the only long stayers at the hospital. For some wild penguins, the recovery process can be a long one. Pogo here came in 2 months ago with toes missing on one foot and the other one completely dislocated.
It's quite unresponsive, and if you can see there.
The team have been setting the foot in a splint to try and build up the muscles enough to let Pogo walk unaided.
But what we're trying to do with the splinting is getting that foot used to being in that position and making those ligaments and those tendons a bit stronger. So what we're doing now is we're going to take off the splint and see him walking without the splint. He obviously had something quite traumatic happen to his feet. You see he's completely missing the end of the middle toe. And then this foot has got a lot of little lacerations to the top. So those could be caused by him just dragging the foot and damaging it over time.
Pogo's foot is clearly far from recovered. Without that splint, he struggles to point his foot forwards.
If you correct the foot, he can keep it in place for a while until you chase him, and then it will flip back again. So for the place where he's at, it's not bad. While he's being splinted, we don't swim the birds, so he hasn't had a swim, which is not great for the birds because from an enrichment point of view, swimming is great. And from a feather point of view, we love them to swim because it improves their feather quality so much.
This is Pogo's first swim for weeks, and he looks pretty happy.
So he's using that foot in the pool, which is interesting to see, but he's not able to scratch his ear the same as he can on the other side. So I think there's definitely a little bit of nerve damage there as well. It could just be because of the weakness of the muscle in the area, but the function's definitely not as good as the other foot. You just had to go at Ebony. Leave her alone. It is quite a lot of effort to go to for one penguin, and it can mean very long stays. But ideally, we want to release very strong, healthy penguins with 2 working feet. We want to encourage as much of a healthy breeding population in the wild as possible.
He might be enjoying a swim and a scrap, but Pogo still has a way to go before he can waddle off down that beach. It's 7:30 a.m. and 40 miles from the hospital, over 6,000 wild African penguins are starting a new day at Stony Point Reserve. Penguin ranger Kewan, with the help of his dog Ciso, are on the lookout for injured birds and abandoned eggs. Being on the edge of a large nature reserve, the penguins at Stony Point can often fall victim to land-based predators.
As it's one of 2 mainland colonies, the predator threat here at this colony is pretty high. One of the main predators is a caracal. It looks very similar to a lynx. Come see.
For these big cats, penguins are a relatively recent prey. They only arrived at Stony Point from their natural island habitat in 1982.
Your penguin coming from the islands, he's unawares of what the threat is that this animal poses, and therefore is very vulnerable.
And it's not long before Kewan comes across a kill.
This was a caracal kill. So what we've got here is a typical example. The cat's actually muscled it up, covered it underneath some debris. This is an adult bird. See, good dog, good dog. What we need to try and understand is that this is a breeding adult and the birds are monogamous. So they pair up for life and they do breed through. So the possible negative impact of this chap being taken out of the system may mean a 3-year or 4-year gap of non-breeding until possibly its partner finds another suitable pairing.
But the news isn't all bad here at Stony Point. Even though their global population is dangerously under threat, thanks to years of conservation work, numbers are actually increasing here. To the point that the colony has expanded onto a boat club slipway at the edge of the reserve.
So what we have over the last year, this colony has grown such that it's encroached onto this slipway. And now the human conflict really does start to become apparent. We've run out of space, basically. We try to best facilitate this without doing great damage towards the population.
The boat club only use this jetty for part of the year during the crayfish season. But when penguins come into conflict with man, it's a familiar story. The penguins come off second best. In this case, Kewan has to move the colony out of the way of the launching boats.
It does cause a bit of a conservational conflict. We're just here to make sure that we can accommodate those launches as best and for the well-being of the species in the long run.
Despite being a nature reserve, Stony Point remains a dangerous place for the African penguin. And back at the hospital is the badly injured penguin who was rescued from Stony Point with what looked like a life-threatening leg injury.
That's not good at all. The best option would possibly be to put him to sleep.
But Eddie, as he's now called, had a different idea. He's not going without a fight. Today, he's back for yet another operation. With so much time and money being spent on individual penguins like Eddie, the staff need to be a little bit creative. So Natasha is making an anaesthetic mask out of a water bottle.
First, got to make sure the bottle top fits on the circuit, which it does. We're combining recycling and art at the same time. As we're a charity, we do tend to, wherever we can, use our ingenuity to make expensive things quite cheap. And there's sausage.
Eddie doesn't care about costs. He just wants to get out of here.
So he's got quite a reputation in pens. He's a little bit of an escape artist. He's got a broken toenail now from where he's been scaling the fence. 2 broken toenails, sorry. I think he's probably the feistiest bird that I've anaesthetised in a really long time. This should be a very, very quick procedure. So we like to keep them in the crate for about an hour, so they're not swimming, they're not feeding or anything, just while they recover from that anaesthetic. So that's why they look a little bit drunk. Put some cable ties on his crate so he doesn't get out, because otherwise they're going to have a nightmare.
Eddie needs to be locked in his crate for his own good. A nocturnal escape effort could result in his leg wound opening back up and getting infected. Leg wounds are a common sight over at Stony Point, and ever-vigilant Ranger Kewen is down by the colony looking out for casualties on this rocky shoreline. And it's not long before he spots one.
Oh, he's been lying there for a while, but his leg's gone. He's also in poor condition. Hopefully we're going to be able to recover it and send it back to Steinkop.
Getting near the injured penguin without frightening him is a very delicate operation.
It's very hard to recover birds from this coastal area. It's a group survival strategy that they use. Should one take flight, you will find that all of them do. Due to the visitors on the boardwalk, they're used to that, but now as soon as I get off, I'm going to be a total abnormality for them. But let me see how it goes. If it causes too much disturbance, I will pull myself out.
The last thing Kewen needs here is to make the penguin's leg injury any worse.
Okay, it has spotted me, so I just need to slow down a little bit, allow it to adapt to my presence. It's an attempt, remember, not all times are successful. You just have to sit and let it become accustomed to you. Okay, it's moving away, so it's going to be a bit problematic. So I'm going to have to consider how quick I do this. I may disturb a few birds, but I can definitely see its leg is broken. Okay, I'm going to have to go quickly here. He's been in some entanglement. Let's put him away.
With a suspected broken leg, this little penguin's life depends on the team at the hospital treating him as soon as possible. A new arrival at the Penguin A&E is the casualty that Stony Point Ranger Kewen rescued from the colony.
He's been in some entanglement.
Time for vet Natasha and rehabber Marna to assess the penguin's injuries.
So I'm just having a feel of his leg. I don't like the look of the wound on the preen gland.
With the wound on the preen gland and a suspected broken leg, an X-ray is needed. To keep the penguin still for this procedure, he's placed under a general anaesthetic.
So we're just going to do another X-ray further up on his legs. X-ray! And there's no damage to any of the long bones of the leg, which is good news.
Despite the earlier fears, his leg is not broken.
There is some infection that you can see in the lower part of the foot, and that's probably why he's not standing. So we're going to continue with antibiotics and some anti-inflammatories for now and just see how the bird progresses over the next few days. What we're quite concerned about is the preen gland.
The preen gland is an essential piece of survival kit for penguins. The gland is at the base of the spine and secretes an oil. Penguins spend many hours preening in order to spread this oil over the feathers to make a waterproof coat, vital for survival in the cold waters of the South Atlantic Ocean. With a damaged preen gland and leg, this penguin's chances in the wild would have been remote, so his stay at the hospital could now be a long one. Dawn is just starting to break over Cape Town. And at the Penguin Hospital, a very busy day is getting underway in the chick rearing unit.
So it's 5:30 in the morning, the start of the morning shift. Just started waking up the chicks to start weighing them to work out their feeds for the day.
It's the height of the penguin hatching season, and Unit Supervisor Romy has 27 patients to look after.
You can hear they're starting to wake up and get a little bit hungry.
All 27 need to be weighed, then individually given their set menu for the day. With chicks at many different stages of development, it's a military operation to make sure they all get the right amount of food. With so many mouths to feed up to 4 times a day, it's a never-ending cycle of weighing and feeding. The older, more developed chicks like Jabba here get a nice big fishy breakfast. Whereas the smaller chicks get a fish smoothie fed from a syringe. But the smallest chick in the unit is causing the team some concern.
Look, I mean, look at the size of the two, just a day older. And it's his first day on formula. So yesterday he was just getting the probiotics and water. It's a lot trickier to work with because he's so much smaller than the others.
Alfie is only a day old. He had to be helped out of his egg in what the team refer to as an assisted hatch. The staff only intervene if a chick takes more than 48 hours to hatch. At this stage, they're in real danger of starving or dying of exhaustion.
We sort of took back a little bit of the shell just to assist hatch. The following day at about lunchtime, we took him out completely. The chick was really, really tired and exhausted. Just keep monitoring him. Hopefully he will perk up. I think with this little guy, it's just one step at a time, one feed at a time, and just see what he does, literally from hour to hour.
At just 58 grams, Alfie is well under the weight he should be at his age. His life depends on Romy's team giving him constant care and attention. The next hours and days are critical for this little one. Here at the Penguin Hospital, every injured bird is precious, and the staff spend weeks and sometimes months nurturing them back to full strength in the hope they can be released back into the wild. Pogo came into the Penguin A&E last December with one foot partially missing and the other badly dislocated. It was literally dragging behind him when he walked. The staff will only release penguins if they have at least one fully functioning foot.
So the splint is just to try and keep his foot in an upright position. We don't want to amputate. It is completely the last resort.
So, after 3 months of intensive treatment, the great news is Pogo's splint is now off. And he's happily making his way to the exit.
Of course, Sharish, you can grab him before he walks to freedom. I'm actually really happy with this bird, and I think he has really shown great improvement, and he's probably on his way to a complete and full recovery without us having to chop any toes off.
Head rehabber Nikki is now assessing Pogo to see if he can be released.
His weight is good, his bloods are good. And he's very chesty. No, he won't go tomorrow.
Pogo seems pretty keen to get out of the hospital, but he'll have to wait until his chest gets better. He won't be happy about that. Another long stayer at the hospital is Nipper. He was rushed into the A&E unit 4 months ago with a severe head injury caused by a dog bite. The team only realised just how severe his injuries were when he blacked out and nearly drowned in the hospital pool. But that was 4 months ago. Now look at him. Nipper's regained his love of swimming, but his treatment is far from over.
It's like a totally different bird.
Yeah, it does.
The head wounds were caused by a dog bite at Stony Point. They were so severe that Natasha and her team are back in the operating theatre to clean out Nipper's wounds.
Quite an extensive wound with lots of little tunnels. We're just using this flush solution to give the wound a really good clean. There were several smaller superficial wounds at the top, and they've got a lot smaller, which is a good sign it's healing.
With months of loving care and attention, Nipper's journey to recovery is well underway. So much so that this cheeky little character has become a real favourite among the hospital staff.
He's been through so much, and just the fact that he can have such a nice personality and he just, I don't know, steals all our hearts very easily. Just loves to know what's going on. Considering he came in and couldn't lift up his head and just was going through so much pain. And I'm not allowed to get attached to them, so I'm not supposed to say anything emotional about them, but he's a really cool penguin.
Nipper's story is another small victory in the daily battle to save these wonderful creatures. Eddie, the Stony Point rescue with a shocking leg wound, has surprised everyone and has healed remarkably quickly. He has still been at the hospital for 6 weeks and has undergone countless operations to flush out that infected wound.
So he spent the night in a crate with multiple attempts to escape. Look, you're free, but don't jump, don't jump. Sebs doesn't want you. She doesn't want you jumping at her. Come on. Very strong. No. He's just going to be a very twisty and turny bird. So I'm glad I prepared his medication beforehand. But I mean, he's a wild bird, so it's good that he's feisty. Good for his chances of survival. It's not so great for me because it makes my job a bit harder, as you can see.
Eddie has his final dose of antibiotics. He could be just a flipper's breath away from getting back into that lovely ocean. Over at the chick rearing unit, Romy and her team are hard at work caring for 27 chicks that need constant monitoring and feeding.
It's not every day that you come across, I would think, people that can say, I work with African penguin chicks. So I feel that it's a really special job, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with it.
With the current hatching season reaching its busiest period, the unit has to care for abandoned eggs found in and around the wild colonies. The eggs are brought in, weighed and inspected to see if they have a developing chick inside.
Haha. All right, we've got a kidney-shaped embryo. That's the little penguin.
Eggs take an average of 48 hours to hatch, and the chick here is fighting his way out into the big wide world.
The African penguins, once they've laid their eggs, 40 days later, a little chick will come out. It blows my mind that they've got such little space and they've got to hit their heads up, you know, and get through this shell. They actually push through with their beak. So on the end of their beak, they've got a little egg tooth, and that's that they use to just punch through the eggshell, and penguin eggshells are not soft.
For this little furball, the fight out of the egg is almost done.
He hatched beautifully on his own, so he cracked all the way around. Okay, hey, little one. Yep, so he's completely detached from the egg. And there we've got an absolutely gorgeous, newly hatched African penguin chick. I'm just going to do this quickly because we don't want to keep him out of the incubator for too long. All right. There we go. 63 grams, that's a perfect weight. We'll just let him dry out, and in about 5 hours' time, he'll get his first feed. Obviously, hand raising an endangered species is not a walk in the park. There's a lot of obstacles that we've had to cross and to rectify.
Those first few days of a chick's life are critical, and no more so than for little Alfie. He had to be helped hatching from his egg, and he's dangerously underweight.
Look at the size of the two, just a day older.
Alfie is being monitored every 2 hours, but the signs so far are not encouraging for this little chap.
On average, our chicks are weighing in the high 60s, so about 68 grams. So he is a lot smaller than what we usually expect. There we go. So he's just, slow feeding response. He's still quite sleepy. So it was quite a tricky assisted hatch with him. He's still got a little bit of the membranes you can see sort of stuck to the top of his head. You can see he's a little bit swollen still, the back of the head. Obviously, you always vote for the underdog, so we'll just see how he does. It's obviously never nice to lose a chick, so that is, that would be the worst day.
It's now 1 week later, and Alfie is still fighting for his life. Vet Natasha becomes involved in monitoring his progress.
This chick has been quite a worry for a while, so he is one of the most monitored chicks in the whole CRU. He's very, very weak. He can hardly lift his head. He has gone from opening his eyes to closing his eyes again, which is a very bad sign. He started to put on some weight, but now once again he's plateaued, which isn't what we want, and we're very concerned at this point. Unfortunately, it doesn't look good for this little one.
Little Alfie's short life has not got off to a good start. He was dangerously underweight and has been fighting for survival.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look good for this little one.
But this little trooper has amazed the hospital staff. He's now 21 days old, and after everything he's been through, Alfie is almost double his birth weight.
He has finally reached 100 grams. He's looking good, he's nice and fluffy, he's peeping for me. There's a big improvement in his behavior. It's really rewarding seeing something like this. You got to look for all the little silver linings, and this is, I suppose, our little silver lining, this little chick.
Alfie's now well enough to move from the incubator to an open brooder.
He's going into his big boy home now, with his duck-billed platypus.
This little miracle has only been possible after weeks of hard work from the hospital staff.
Next big rewarding step for me is when we start to see our chicks being released. So hopefully in a month or two, we're going to start seeing that, and that's a yes factor. That's a yes moment. And one of the reasons it's so amazing to work here. Yeah.
If Alfie carries on improving, he'll graduate outside to the nursery. And who knows, he could end up like little Sid here.
This bird was an egg that was brought to us that was found in an unsafe area that his parents decided to nest in. And through the incubation process, it hatched and was a healthy baby. And since then, it's just gone up the chain. It's been moved from the CRU as soon as it reached the kilo to the nursery, and it's doing great.
1 month later, Sid has lost his baby feathers and is now a waterproof adolescent blue. For hand reader Dylan, success stories like Sid make his job a happy one.
I feel like quite a proud father. I have a beautiful, successful chick who's on its way to being released very soon. So yeah, that definitely puts a smile on my face.
Well, for a lucky few penguins, today is going to be the day they get to leave the hospital and rejoin the wild penguin colony at Stony Point. I know you're excited about that, aren't you? But first, there's the pre-release test. They have to be able to swim for at least an hour, be the correct weight, and the vet needs to test their blood and their feathers and give them the all clear. And then you'll be back with your pals. It's exciting. Pogo came to the hospital 3 months ago with a badly dislocated foot. After wearing a splint for most of this time, he's now walking unaided. He met all the criteria for release before, but a poorly chest stopped that happening.
His weight is good, his bloods are good, and he's very chesty. No, he won't go tomorrow.
It's been a long time coming, and with his chest cleared up, today is Pogo's day.
He's finally getting released. He had a chest x-ray yesterday just to confirm that his chest was okay and everything was okay. So he's good to go.
He's going to be released alongside hospital hatchling Sid.
He's a very sleek young penguin.
And joining them today is Eddie, the escape artist. He'll be released back to the place where he was rescued all those weeks ago with that horrendous leg wound.
That wound that was actually quite deep, which is why we thought the prognosis was quite poor. The fact that it recovered so quickly is quite good and quite surprising for us as well. So we wish really that all penguins would heal as quickly as that. Very excited, super stoked.
They all get boxed up for the hour-and-a-half drive to Stony Point. Eddie, Pogo and Sid will join over 6,000 other wild African penguins at the colony. For the young hatchlings like Sid, this will be the first time they've ever swam in the ocean. For the older penguins like Eddie the escape artist, Stony Point is a far more familiar sight.
Bring the boxes. So, okay, we put the blues together. Adults, all right.
Sid and his young buddies get their first glimpse of the world beyond the hospital. They are released first. Followed by Pogo, Eddie and the other adults who'll show them the way.
When you actually put birds back into the system, they've been at the rehabilitation center, spent time away from the ocean, from the sea. It's great to see this, and I think it's a great contributor, and all the effort that everyone's put in to make this happen, it's absolutely joyous. Should do well. Good luck to him.
Next time, hope is running out for a penguin with a badly injured flipper.
If the infection gets worse, we will have to euthanize the bird.
Abandoned chicks arrive at the hospital. And an unusual love triangle is spotted.
We've never seen this happen.